You're back again. My goodness. This is so exciting for me that you keep listening. Many years of my life have gone into this series, and to be able to share it is just such a pleasure. Anyway, I'm getting all misty over here, and you just want to know what's happening next in Scrutiny, Chapter 4, Ophelia Cares. I am your host, Zoe. Let's get into listening with discretion, as it has already been advised. Ophelia glanced at her passenger. Hannah was a pretty quiet woman, but she usually wasn't this quiet. Ophelia hoped the woman was just tired, trying not to fall asleep right there in the passenger seat, but Ophelia wasn't so sure. There was something about the long look on her face that made the other woman think there must be something wrong. She didn't press her for details, though. She knew that sometimes people just needed to be taken care of, and suspected Hannah was at that point. Ophelia parked her car. She lived behind the town bakery. A creepy little trail wound behind the tall stone building into a wide grassy field, which was currently lit by starlight and floating lightning bugs, a creature she didn't have in her hometown. Hannah walked silently. When they got to the field, Ophelia had to stop and glance back to make sure the girl was still behind her. She was almost within arm's length. Ophelia turned back around and continued down the winding little trail. The light from her home looked warm and inviting, trickling out from between branches. She lived in an itty-bitty cottage tucked next to Mr. Whitaker's house in a grove of willow and aspen trees. Almost 2 acres of land stood between her and the road. The night air was ripe with the scent of honeysuckle, roses, and the other flowers in full bloom next door. It was so sweet and magical. She felt like a fairy every day. She never wanted this phase of her life to change in any way, shape, or form, except maybe the inside of her cottage. Warm and welcoming on the outside, sparsely furnished on the inside. Ophelia led them right into the cottage. Her whole house existed in the space of 3 rooms. The main floor was the kitchen, next to a pair of laundry machines, and a few feet of space she called her living room, though it was mostly empty. Tucked in the far right corner was a bathroom, next to which was a staircase, and that went up to a loft, which she called her bedroom. Altogether, the space was smaller than her childhood bedroom, but it was hers, and plenty. Ophelia popped up the stairs. She had 2 TVs in her house. One was useless because she didn't have any Wi-Fi, but the other, in her bedroom, had a gaming system attached, so she could watch movies or play games when she had the odd minute to do so. Hannah haunted the downstairs. Ophelia could hear her running water and making herself at home. It thrilled her that the other woman did so. Having grown up in a very strict household, Ophelia had never enjoyed the rare play dates she had with other people. It had always felt so formal. Please, thank you, may I? She never wanted her friends to feel like they ever had to ask for anything, especially the bare necessities. She decided that the moment Mr. Whitaker handed her the keys. Hey, by the way, Mr. Whitaker will be by for the rent in the morning, probably around 8 a.m. Are we not going to be home by dawn? Hannah called back. It was hard to tell if her tone was serious or not, since she usually got to work when it was really early. Ophelia hesitated. Are you serious? She finally asked, since the other hadn't said anything for several long seconds. Hannah appeared, smiling mischievously. I'm teasing you, babe. I already texted my mom where I am, and when I'll be home. She'll give me the silent treatment, but she'll take care of the animals in the morning. I was thinking you could take me home before you went to work. That meant she could spend her entire morning hanging out with her friend. Ophelia couldn't help but grin. That was really the only thing she wanted anymore, just time with people she liked. However, an anxious feeling brewed up in her. She wasn't doing anything useful. She was just laying around with her friends all day, eating donuts. She crushed the thoughts back into their cauldron and forced a lid over them. She reminded herself, rest is just as important as work. Her inability to rest was why she hurt herself, why she had to quit school, and why she moved across the country. She would not do that to herself anymore. She didn't have to play that stupid fucking game. You okay? Hannah said. Was she the one acting weird now? Ophelia grinned and forced all the gross feelings away. Clearing her mind, she said, Yes, I was just making plans in my head and I got distracted. Do you want to watch a movie or play a game? Movie. Hannah didn't hesitate. Ophelia would have agreed either way. Had already decided to do whatever Hanah wanted so she could rest. Ophelia quietly hoped she'd be at least up for a game, but it wasn't as though the other had stayed up far later than she usually did, 3 nights in a row, just to entertain Ophelia. She picked the movie. She didn't have much of a selection now, but she picked up a few from the library that she'd never seen. Ophelia popped a DVD into the player. It whirled to life, skipping against the ancient system. She'd gotten this for a hell of a bargain. She loved this word. Bargain. Most of her home was secondhand furniture. Not her bed, but every shelf, plate, and electronics she had been carefully selected from some secondhand store. She adored them. They were everywhere. Every hamlet had at least one, if not 2 or 3 small thrift stores. They were so incredibly handy. Why did anyone buy new for stupid amounts of money when they could buy secondhand for almost free? Hanah returned. She changed into her PJs, smiling contentedly. She smelled a little skunky, but Ophelia did not mind nor comment. In truth, the smell was nostalgic. Ophelia had never smoked herself, but almost every person she knew in college had. So she kind of liked smelling it. Ophelia laid back and ran her hand along the curve of the wall, which became her ceiling. It was covered in little wooden slats that bumped against the pads of her fingers as they moved. It made a sound that Ophelia really liked. She did it a few times as she waited. When the DVD finally loaded, the system made a soft, low sound. Ophelia sat up and grabbed the controller. She bopped quickly through the beginning to the start of the movie. It was an older screening, and it followed a family of 4 in the zombie apocalypse. Oh God, what is this? She asked, looking both intrigued and guarded at the colored footage flickering on the screen. Ophelia glanced at the cover. It's called Evening of the Lost. Hanah chuckled. Spooky. Ophelia answered, Do you want some popcorn? Hanah positioned herself on the bed with her legs stretched out. She nestled down, folding her hands comfortably on her belly. She hummed. Yeah, that sounds good. Ophelia went downstairs and opened her cupboard. She had 3 types of popcorn. She loved it more than any other salty snack, even chips. Though the moment she thought about chips, she thought about making her own chips, and she wanted to do that. She stopped herself. It was kind of a lot more work than making microwave popcorn. The woman popped the bag into the machine and followed the directions. After a few minutes, she was prancing back up the stairs with the snack in a bowl for them to share. Unsurprisingly, however, Hanah was fast asleep, snoring lightly. Laying in the same position she'd left her in, Ophelia softened her step. She set the bowl of popcorn down on the nightstand, opened the window above the dresser, and let the night breeze roll into her room. She crawled into bed next to Hanah. The leggy woman didn't budge. She would when she got cold, but for now, Ophelia pushed her blankets aside, so Hanah wouldn't have to fight to get them, and crossed her legs. She reached over Hanah and grabbed the popcorn. She tucked it between her thighs, then started the film. She wanted to focus on it. She'd done a lot of research before picking it out. Most of the actors had been nominated for their parts, but none of them had won anything. It was called an underrated masterpiece. It started off simply enough. A family arguing about their vacation when the young son points out a radio broadcast. The local government announcing a basin-wide pandemic stemming from the local lake water. The townspeople advised not to drink water from any wells in the area and to bottle as much city water as possible before the night is over. Ophelia stuffed her mouth with popcorn, unblinking eyes immersed in the screen. Something was creeping up the driveway. It watched the family from the outside in the dark. Only the silhouette of it, strange and difficult to comprehend. It came lumbering up the gravel, shining rocks in the moonlight, boots on wooden steps. The inside, family talking over each other, trying to rush to bottle water and prepare for whatever strangeness was about to befall them. Disbelief ripe and... Ophelia shook her head, mumbling to herself that this family was dumb. The mother was going to answer the door. But why would you answer the door when they were just advising you to stay inside, to lock the doors and board the windows? She shook her head. Her heart was starting to beat a little harder, though. The woman opened the door, and Ophelia jumped out of her skin as a towering stack of lumber spilled into the doorway. Hanah grumped at her, twitching her face, but otherwise not moving. Ophelia looked quickly back to the TV. A man was on the other side of it, smiling, friendly, normal. "Oh, hello, Alexander," the mother greeted him. "Mary, Benjamin, thought you might be needing a hand getting ready. I wouldn't want to lose my favorite neighbors, would I?" "Well, that's awful thoughtful of you," Mary cooed, admiring the man with latent attraction. "I told Ben to go to the store yesterday, but does he listen to me?" Ben scowled at his wife, giving her an unhappy headshake. "Well, not all men know that women know best," Alexander said, stooping to collect his lumber. "And it's all right now, isn't it, Ben? Won't you help me put these boards up, Mr. Longfellow?" Alexander asked, his suspicious grin becoming a hyper-focus on the screen. Ophelia shook her head, saying to herself, "Nah, I wouldn't trust him. He's definitely going to do something shady later." She glanced at Hanah. The woman would have agreed with her. He was far too friendly for the 90s. The camera angle shifted through the house and focused outside one of the windows, giving Ophelia the sense something was watching the family from outside. Ophelia shook her head. She didn't like that at all. Why had she chosen a horror movie? She didn't like them. She never enjoyed them. Yet she could not tire her eyes from the screen. The film moved on. Soon enough, Ophelia was sure they were being stalked by something. That the man was an infiltrator. The little boy was standing at the top of the basement stairs, whispering, "There's something down there." But no one was listening. They were far too busy arguing. He seemed possessed. Why wouldn't he speak up? She didn't like this. He stepped down one stair, slowly, desperately looking at his parents, and her phone rang! Ophelia let out a high-pitched scream. Hanah jerked awake. She looked over at Ophelia with a mixture of rage and concern on her face. "Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry!" Ophelia broke down into manic giggles, the kind that came from the center of the chest. Oh my God, she felt so dumb. Ophelia glared at her. She grumbled something, then turned over. Ophelia caught her breath, paused the movie. Sybil was calling her. She went downstairs to answer it. She spoke into the phone in a soft voice. "Good afternoon. You're calling Charlotte's channel for divine intervention. What long-lost relative, friend, sexual partner, or demonic entity can I summon for you today?" Sybil usually enjoyed her humor, but his chuckle sounded hollow. "I see I didn't wake you." "No, I was watching a horror movie, though you did make me scream like a virgin on our wedding night." "Sorry, I wasn't trying to." "It's fine. Neither was he." Jesus. Sybil laughed earnestly this time. She could hear him shake his head. After a moment, he told her he couldn't sleep and had given up on it. "I've got work in 3 hours anyway." "Is it already that late?" Ophelia asked, glancing at her phone in disbelief. Yep, there it was, green numbers glowing on the screen. 1:16 a.m. She quickly did the math and guessed it was right. She'd gotten off at 10, got Hanah around 11:30. Now it was at 1 a.m. Yeah. Her movie was probably about over, and she'd be drifting into bed soon. But Sybil requested, "You want to go on a night walk with me?" Ophelia considered. Her body was tired, but her legs were far too restless. They were used to dancing for 12 to 16 hours a day, and though today had been a lot of heavy lifting, they were not yet satisfied. She decided, sure, I could walk, but don't call, just text. Sybil agreed. Cool. I'm going to get ready for work. I'm going to be there in probably 30 minutes. Ophelia murmured her agreement, and they both hung up. 45 minutes later, she was walking down the trail towards where he parked. An Apocalypse Keeper production. Thank you so much for tuning into that latest episode. I really appreciate your continued patronage. I would really appreciate it if you went over to our Patreon and showed your support in a monetary fashion. I do so hope to do this for the rest of my life. It is my passion, but I can't do that if I can't eat. Thank you very much. Tune in next week for Sybil. I'm very excited to introduce you to him. Chapter 5 is about Sybil. He's a sweetie, he's a cutie patootie, and you're gonna get a little Ophelia action in there because they're besties. So, yeah, all right. Come back soon! I love you.